But like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust—
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense. Huh? Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may
That took long enough. Now then, at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altar. He did not realize that the sound could be heard by Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise. So Linney proceeded to knock. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic. And there you have it.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. Seems... According to Linney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey. Linney went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth. Linney did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of...
Attention! When the countdown started, Linney did indeed go into the... But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is... Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again. And in order to complete the magic trick, he reached the surface. Paimon did it! Paimon...
In other words, you believe that he...
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire... Assuming knowing that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage?
Oh,
That's right, you tell him! Well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But, of course I do. If he had been in the mad... You're saying that he wasn't?
That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't. This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best.
Well, to think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Could there have been a third person involved? The deceased's name is Cowl.
That can't be.
Oh, is
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowl did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator. The deceased's name is Cowl, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. No one entered or left the opera house. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must... The sound we heard may have come from a clash between them. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have... Linny was not in the tunnel. The sound we heard may have come... The deceased's name is Cowl, Linny's assistant. No one entered or left... Halsey's clothing was in the...
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring?
Look, since we're at a dead end, just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must...
If only we knew how Halsey...
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a
Excuse my interruption, dear opponent.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing hole. The deceased's name is Cowl. The vase was not broken by chance.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together! Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only if there's a similar method.
Just how could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality. Must we really? Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirect.
Even so, the truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reason. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effect.
We are still examining the items, but we have already we discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea. The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely, as such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact...
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving...
Could something so ridiculous actually...
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but...
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell would... Wait just a minute. Could that mean...
Demoiselle, wait! What about your pardon?
Let's go. Just...
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased... Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit guards. Please continue, Mr. Linney. It appears your hypothesis is supported.
Of course. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water...
The deceased's name is Cow. The rope that held the water tank. The water from the primordial sea. Now it seems like the hook... Lynette was in the magic box. I remember there was something... Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another
It's Ace Detect in the original plan. Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope, and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel and wound up being fatally hit by the same water
That does make...
That actually links together a lot of the more
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused?
Now, it seems like the only point of contention. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating I shall now invite him on stage.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea.
What?
That can't be.
Does this not, my dear citizen? Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowell then caused Halsey to vanish using the water. But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired sole credit and prepared to do away with his partner, and ultimately, he knocked Cowell out. Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward... Am I right?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a rebuttal. Is this the end of the
Oh no! Seems using the water is...
I think we've all seen enough now. I believe this is indeed the finale. Now then, my good.
Excuse me, everyone.
Miss, I must ask you not to
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared. What in the world?
No offense, miss, but miracles...
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous... Come on, Linny and Lynette. Give it another go. But as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should leave the final performance.
I understand.
And voila!
Wait, isn't that Halsey?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it, she caught me. That'll teach you to Where should I begin? Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lily. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but that's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Linny was the one who caught me in the act.
Hey! No wonder you look familiar. So Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was on to me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance cards. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the entire... The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but was smashed during the struggle between... The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lilianne's attempt. Lilianne was afraid.
And it's Ace Detective Paimon time! Having been selected out of the blue, her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard. Hearing the commotion, Cowl leapt into the tunnel, only to discover he did not know that Lilianne was not from Fontaine, but was mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect. He tried to force Lilianne back in. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but with no way of escaping, she changed her clothes. She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So,
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about a sneaky...
at this point, all the events that happened to...
So bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina. Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not...
What? Are you reading my mind now? No. I have no...
Wow.
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, the actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowl, selected his next victim. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowl thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to... He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box, and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lilianne was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowl entered the tunnel and met Lilianne. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became Lilianne, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the... From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude... While there is much in Linny and Lilianne's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final... As such, Linny and Lynette.
Great work.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we just... How did you find the water from the primordial sea in...
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or...
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a...
We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best—
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, therefore you would be wise to tell everything.
Yes, our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent mora off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss we're—
And now he can no longer
Such ruthlessness.
An outrage. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's...
Traveler, Paimon! Please wait.
Lenny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe, but still. Let me thank you again for defending me to the end, I guess. But I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as for why I'm a Fatus. It's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like— That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of—
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, back when our parents first died, Lynetta, to survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for it. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching—
So you went from orphans to nobility?
That was how we felt at first too. As if fate was on our— But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention.
That doesn't seem too bad either.
It took a while. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. I went to that noble's, but the answer he gave me was— she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet.
Oh no. But what if I'm—
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person, and all I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood. And
so, she'd already taken care—
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement. Father, the Knave, might have seen something in me. The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. I was hesitant to trust her. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first.
Oh, so that's how the—
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes in that—
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently— Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort— All of us house members here, Lady Arlecchino herself included, are from Fontaine. We won't give up on defending our homeland. To us orphans, the only
So, from small deeds like—
It's all right. I understand. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the house, I have never stopped making my own decisions. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find—
Bye, Lenny!
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the— Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
ones who can crack a case that's been cold for decades. And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of breadcrumbs for the Hydro Archon's people to follow.
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. Sorry.
Don't say that now.
Aw, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire, causing new... sorry about that. Wait, shall we have a farewell meal?
Huh? Do we really need to get...
Well, I'd just like to have a proper end. Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too...
You don't have to twist Paimon's arm if Boss Navi is...
Oh, wonderful.
All right, then. Let's have our farewell...
I came here several times with my father when I was little. But stop.
Oh, don't worry. We haven't eaten at a hotel.
In that case, I'll go order for...
Ooh, everything looks so good.
Why, of course. Go ahead, try whatever you like. If the food's...
And if it's...
Well, then I'll...
Yeah. Oh, we called this a farewell meal, but we could also treat it like a victory feast, right?
Oh, true.
Huh? Paimon didn't mean... Speaking of cases, do you think that the mask...
Well, we've certainly taken a big step forward, but...
If it hadn't happened right in front of us...
Right? Yet it was because the...
If only that guy could have finished...
In such investigations, even the smallest step can seem like To be honest, I don't have high hopes for any follow-up that the authorities might conduct. It's not that I don't have faith in their ability. It's just that It's easy to guard against and deceive a single narrow perspective. A shift in thinking is required, which is exactly why the Spina di Rosule, those highfalutin folk, are not all-knowing. That's why we exist. To seep into the cracks where filth falls through.
Seems Paimon thought things were simpler than they are.
It's all right. Let's talk about something else. Like, what are your future plans?
That's true. We didn't have a chance to speak to her after the trial ended.
I see. So, your primary objective, I've heard that there's a long line of people waiting to meet Lady Farina.
Yeah, we've heard that she's super popular.
Well, would you consider...
Guess that's Spina di Rosula's boss for you.
Well, one way would be to infiltrate a performance troupe at the Opera House, only to abandon... I'm sure Lady Farina would be eager to see the ending, and would agree in...
Could you suggest something a little more practical? This plan seems pretty hard to pull off.
All right, here's another. Find a way to conceal yourselves under her bed. Then wake her up in the dead of night and demand... I can personally testify that this one works. When I'm sleepy, I'll do...
That might work, but that's not really the problem. The problem is we don't want to get ourselves arrested.
Valid point. I overlooked that part. I was just thinking about leveraging a person's desire for sleep. All right, no more joking around. Perhaps you could. You did defeat her in court, clearing citizens of hers from false accusations. False accusations she had nearly upheld personally. I imagine that...
You mean that if we catch her while she's on a break, she might be too embarrassed to refuse? Why don't we give it a try after...
Huh? Paimon.
Sorry about that. Paimon?
No, it's fine.
Alright. Honestly,
Is that so? If we're all finished eating, then I'll go...
Yeah. Oh, so full. Paimon can barely float anymore. Nah, that would be so... normal. You know, like you.
Okay.
Hey, Navia! What are
Oh, nothing. It was just a meal, you know? Nothing to speed it.
Let's get ready.
So this is goodbye, huh? Well, if you do encounter any other trouble in Fontaine, in any case, I wish you'd...
See ya! People around it.
Vache.
Looks like we're back here again. Huh? Traveler? Are you here?
Vache?
Hey, why are you still walking? Huh? Hey, Traveler? Stop walking! Come on, wake up!
Vache, are you... my dear... No, wait. You seem to be someone else. Do you know Vache? Wait, my memories feel like they have been washed away like a flood. So many fragments dissolved amidst the tide. How much have I lost? How many things that I once held dear while on land? Yes, that is what I was once. But now... I do not know how I came to be like this either. I only vaguely remember being covered in light blue water. I also remember going. No matter where I went, Vache would go with me. But now, we can... No! Our reunion, the thought of me gives him no succor. So let it lie forgotten beneath. If you meet Vache, tell him not to look. Perhaps that is so. If only I could have comforted him. Told him that I did not suffer. Is that what you call it? Dissolving. It was a state of neither fear nor frenzy, with only an end. I could also liken it to being a thirsty person who drinks water for the first time, and only then sees how they have lived for so... I think I hear your companion. It's time. Farewell, then. I am...
Wake up! Come on, hurry! Navia's outnumbered!
Mademoiselle, look out!
Dear God, it's a whole army of Gardamex. Chlorand?
Quick, now's our chance!
I should thank you for lending us your sword there, Chlorand. But before I do so,
I followed you.
I believe that following someone without their knowledge is
Mr. Callus's last wish was for me to ensure your safety, and I will not betray his trust.
Do not speak of my father!
Sorry, Demoiselle.
Thank you for your aid, Miss Chlorand, but do keep an eye out for your manner of speech.
Sorry,
Whatever. What else do you know? How did you come to the
I doubt I know much more than you. But I believe that the mastermind behind the serial disappearances is very powerful. Your performance tonight will almost certainly attract their attention.
I'm sure they've known about me. To be honest, I'm shocked it's taken them this long to act against me. And what about these Gardamex? I thought only those associated with the Maison Gardiennage could control them.
None of these mecha have serial numbers. I was sure to check a moment ago. They are not the ones used by the authorities to enforce the law. I can only conclude that some powerful or wealthy party must have obtained them via illegal means, deploying them as a private force of sorts.
What? Your point being that they're out of Spina di Rosula's league, then?
Yes. Be careful.
I will continue investigating no matter what. We will bring the truth to light. That's my father's true last wish. Regardless, thank you for your help today, Chlorand. But if you get any ideas, tell me first. I don't much appreciate being followed.
I do not think that...
Right. I suppose that's the best news.
Demoiselle, I believe that...
I know, she's...
Oh, thank goodness! Paimon thought those Gardamex came out of nowhere while you were unconscious. And there was that champion duelist named Chlorand who came out to save us too! We got...
Oh, come now. Forget all that polite talk. That wasn't really a farewell meal we had back there. Not for me, anyway. In truth, I hope that every meal we have together shall be a victory feast. As such, we're still partners. There's no need to thank me.
It will take 50 years for me.
If it were me, I would have joined these...
All right, you two.
Actually, Navia, how did you know that we were in danger? You sure did...
Well, to be honest, you're the one who tipped us off, Paimon.
Huh? Really? Paimon can...
Yes, all thanks to you grabbing my drink by mistake. After we parted ways, I was on the way back to one of our bases that the Fanta tasted kind of salty and icky. Fanta only comes in sweet flavors, so how could it have tasted salty? The color of the...
So the Fanta had been spiked with water from the primordials?
Yes. So if you hadn't drunk that cup for me...
Spina di Rosula is preparing the grandest of awards for...
Huh. Really?
I sent people to Hotel de Boer to investigate. But that's when I figured out that you might be in danger, and her...
What? Why would they go after us, too? All we did was defend...
Well, you did foil a plan that they were probably pretty proud of. and almost got their name in the process. Speaking of which, did anything strange happen when you drank the primordial seawater?
Well, it can't be a coincidence that the traveler fainted just now. Oh, and this time Paimon heard it too! But it was real faint. Does this situation does that mean the primordial seawater raises someone's sensitivity to hydro when it's used on people who are not from Fontaine?
That doesn't sound like too much of a bad thing, to be honest.
New intel?
Well, let's hear it, shall we? Oh. Vache. That name doesn't ring a bell. Since he saw that young woman dissolve, but he never gave testimony or any information regarding people dissolve. Yes, thank you. This is very important information. Oh, you mean you...
Well, you did say that our farewell meal didn't really count. That means, and besides, we're in this now whether we like it or not. You're not gonna let...
Demoiselle, do try not to look quite so pleased.
You talk too much. Well, and we also have some plans to...
Don't worry, you two. With us...
It's right up ahead, but...
I've been keeping watch, Demoiselle. I haven't spotted anyone suspicious thus...
Very good.
I shall find...
Thank you, Malus. Now, let's get...
Your accommodations have been arranged.
Well, our funds have been a little tight lately. After all, we don't allow illegal or unethical profiteering. In fact, our funds...
Seems like it's tough times for everyone. But if you have the...
To be honest, our financial situation was a lot better.
Your father... He was the...
Demoiselle, if you'll allow me to explain.
No. I'll explain it myself. I suppose I couldn't run from this topic forever. And as partners, this is something I hope they can My father's name is Callus. Yes, the same one they call Callus the Unfaithful in the streets. 3 years ago, he was accused of murdering his own friend. But he chose a duel to defend his honor instead.
Oh no.
But I do not believe my father was a murderer. At the time, I believed that if he only stood trial and was duly investigated, but strangely, he not only requested the duel himself, but rumor has it that even after being seriously injured, to the point where he could be deemed as having lost the duel, he refused to surrender. 3 years. How could he protect his honor if he's dead? The closest piece of info I have is that my father had been in.
So that's why you're so determined to get.
That's right. I've also tried to However, I believe that if the murder case, I must know what really happened. Was my father coerced? Framed? Even if he. If only he'd been more open with me when he was still alive. He even hid the fact, and now, here I am investigating.
Demoiselle, please.
I also will never believe that Master Callus murdered anyone. Master Callus did so much good in life, yet even our supporters decreased greatly due to that incident, and...
Wait! If Callus was such a good man...
No. Perhaps people just revel in that kind of drama. It's not something exclusive to people. People love watching the evil turn over a new leaf, but they also enjoy watching good people fall into an abyss from...
What? How could... never mind.
There is one other thing.
Oh, her? Well, then, yeah. That's not the sort of thing that you can just let go and move on from.
Miss Clorand has always placed great emphasis on the honorable nature of the duel. If her opponent doesn't yield, she will not. She knew Master Callus beforehand and greatly respected him, but there was only ever one.
It's not that I don't understand her at all.
Don't worry, Navia. I'm on no...
Afterward, Miss Clorand told us that at the yes, that is our...
Oh, Papa. What madness drove you to ask the person who killed you to take care... All right. Anyway, that's the information. Thanks.
Yeah.
Please, relax and get some sleep.
I sent them back to Poisson. It's Spina de Rosula's place of origin, and where we have our headquarters.
Paimon gets the feeling that you're just trying to get them off your back. But never mind that. When did you get back?
No, I just returned after going out for a while. I did some...
Wait, so you didn't...
How could I after having such
guess Paimon wasn't speaking for everyone just...
Unfortunately, this name seems to have been wiped from existence. It doesn't seem to have. I suspect that those behind this have already taken steps to hinder an investigation.
Does that mean what?
No. There is one ray of hope. One place in Font, and that is the archives kept by Chief Justice Neuvillette. If the Oceanette you met is one of the young women who went missing recently, we should be able...
So Neuvillette maintains an archive of case files? Whew. In that case, let's go talk...
No, it's nothing. The palais is right up ahead. Come on.
Please state your business here. The Chief Justice... This place does look pretty
Hey, don't you recognize us?
Huh? Who are you? Just to be clear, I don't care.
See? They've got great...
Yep. If you're here just to crack jokes, I can point you towards the exit.
No. What I meant to say is, shouldn't...
Oh, yes, I remember. I read about it in the Steamboat.
We're here today to report and archive some information on a follow...
Huh. Is that even...
Of course. Don't worry. We're here...
All right then, I'll let you through. The Chief Justice...
Thanks so...
Please come in.
Sorry to barge in, Monsieur Nervalet. We only lied to get in because we didn't...
It's all right. Please let me know how I may...
So you're not...
We're looking for a man called Vacher. He may have been an eyewitness in the serial disappearances case. If we can find him, we may...
Ah, I see. In that case...
Who knew that Nervalet would be so easy to talk to?
Unfortunately, I'm quite certain that no one by the name of Vacher has been involved in any... There are no records of him either in the files...
Traveler, what if it was really just a
Is that so? All right then.
Ahem. Miss Navia, I can understand how you feel. Your father, Callus, was a truly
And what are you trying to say? Are you trying to console me? Extend your... No. You are not trying to do any of that. I can hear it in your voice. It's just like last time. After my father took his place in the duelist ring, I pushed through the guards to talk to you as a... You even told me then that you thought there was something fishy with the case, yet you still... In your eyes, the value of a human life is nothing compared... If you truly regret my father's death, then why didn't you call a stop to the duel? Why didn't you give me the power to stop him from everything was hanging on a thread? There are still so many things I never got to tell him. If you really have no heart, then just look me in the eyes. I, Navia, will show you the true meaning.
I'm sorry, Miss Navia.
You and my father are truly alike. You keep all kinds of things in your heart, and it's not so much that you can't feel, but that you... Oh well. In any case, everyone already knows my apologies for taking my emotions out on you, Monsieur Chief Justice. Let's go, Traveler and Paimon.
Navia, are you okay?
I'm fine.
You're right. Wasn't it still sunny when we went into the building?
Now that I think of it, on the day my father was convicted of murder...
What is it? Did you think of something?
Yeah, he was outside. It was uncovered and the rain could fall there. Why, that thought has occurred to us before. We've even expanded the search area to try to account for that, but didn't find anything of value. Oh? Wait.
So you're saying that the true murderer could have been turned into water and then got washed away with... Yeah! And if that's what had happened, then no one would have believed your dad, even if he explained what he saw to the authorities!
I really think I found a true genius for a partner. All right, let's go to Poisson. With this new lead in mind...
Yeah, we're gonna make...
Do you want to go with me now? Or do you want to head over by yourself later? Great. There's no need to be so surprised. While it may, my father was the one who asked for it to be built like this. Perhaps a gigantic and glamorous ship embodies discovery, opportunity, ambition, and conquest. It symbolizes Spina di Rosula's bright and limitless.
And Paimon thought you were bluffing when you said Paimon was confused why a group with such a history would live in the sea. But now that Paimon has seen this ship for herself?
Well, Poisson is where Spina di Rosula began, after all. We're back!
Apologies for the wait, demoiselle. You said before that you still had some business at the...
About that. It's because my partner here reminded me of something really you still remember, right, Malus? On that...
Yes, the case was quite similar to that of Mr. Linney's.
But... Could you tell us a bit more about...
Yeah, of course. Many years ago, something called synth began to gain popularity. At a glance, it was a kind of drink that could excite your mood and produce many...
Wait! Didn't that guard guy who turned into water also mention that...
Yes, he did. Considering what we know now, it's almost... If you drink synth for an extended amount of time, you'll suffer many side effects, such as losing the... And if you were to stop drinking it completely, you'll experience flashes of paranoia and anxiety. As he oversaw Poisson, my father was compelled to put a stop to synth abuse and called for a...
Boss's uncompromising attitude incurred the synth vendor's wrath. But no matter how much they threatened or not only that, Boss became determined to find the mastermind.
Yes, but the enemy was very cunning. So he could never get recognizing that. My father decided to contact the dealers in secret and cultivate personal relations. The man's name was Jacques. He felt greatly ashamed about his work after seeing many families destroyed by... That night, my father hosted a banquet at his countryside estate. But then, we heard 2 gunshots from the courtyard. We raced to the scene and found...
How did that happen?
Sounds just like Lenny's case, doesn't it? In both cases, the culprit... Looking back on it, though, I now believe the most important clue was something we all overlooked at the time. There were pieces of...
Precisely. It's all thanks to you that I made the connection now.
But, considering it now, it's almost certain that they belong to a third person at the scene. With one extra person, we'll also...
You're right.
Jacques was an empathetic man who was infinitely remorseful for his past action. I think this third person... On that note, however, even though this will not please you, demoiselle, as your and your father's butler, I must still offer a word of warning. Our opponent is insidious and cruel. Even though Spina di Rosula, there is no need to follow your father's path. It would be...
If that's indeed what he wished for, then he should... Was I not the closest person to him? And yet, what was the point of him dying without sharing any of the secrets he knew? Did he manage to protect anything in the end? Synth is still here. Callus the Unfaithful is still his epithet. And Spina di Rosula, did he think I'd just accept his meaningless death? I've never accepted that, ever. I want to find out the real answer for everyone's sake. For the missing girls, for the victims, and for myself.
Navia.
This is indeed the best moment to act. Your partner appears to be quite reliable.
So you do know something else, Malus?
Yes, I do. In fact, even before that banquet, boss... But what drove all the tensions to the boiling point was the revelation that you, demoiselle, had been selected...
What?
Boss also didn't tell you that he had been died, and the serial disappearances case caused him great. 5 years was nowhere near enough time to resolve this long-standing conflict. Knowing all of this, he decided to use one final intimidation tactic before his death. He claimed to have already gotten his hands, but as long as you remained safe, he would not share the evidence. If something were to happen to you, then he and all those he told would immediately expose all they knew about Synth and the disappeared victims.
Right, so nobody would be able to get off scot-free.
As we've seen, Boss's tactic has worked. Even though Boss has been gone for a long time, the other side has not tried to take...
No, I don't believe it. He never appeared.
No father wants their daughter to see them weak and haggard, especially someone as proud as Boss. To him, dying in a duel and suffering lasting dishonor as the unfaithful were still far...
So he chose to die in silence.
I'm afraid you're not understanding this correctly, demoiselle. If Boss's spirit could hear you telling me that you want to find the answer for the sake of I'm sure he'd be
That fool. No. He might have set up everything precisely because he never thought I'd be able to understand him. Is that the amount of confidence he had in me? And what if I was never able to make it to where I am now? Yeah. I suppose that's true. With the way he'd set things up, if I had wanted, I could have... But thankfully, he rarely talked to me about complex matters, and thus understood little of me as a person. In this case, he really didn't need to give me an... Malus, what was the key evidence that he shared with you?
It's the location where Synth is produced. When he was threatening the enemy, Boss didn't share this. But if you want to use it against the enemy...
Why? If we know where the place is...
You mustn't forget that we're fighting against a mysterious and dangerous... No telling what might be lying in wait at their headquarters. We also have no idea, but a single visit to their headquarters would be... The worst case would be that we leave empty-handed.
Then, in that case, why not work...
Well, you saw one of them dissolve during Mr. Linney's case. We have no idea just how...
That's true, but things are different now. It should be a lot...
You sound like you've put a lot of thought into this, Malus.
I am the butler, after all. I live but to... I've always been willing to take on any kind of risk for your sake. But considering my relative lack of ability...
Thank you for all of that, Malus.
Let me think. One conclusion I came to was that the enemy must be quite familiar. When I announced orders to the organization's members on Demoiselle's behalf, I used to deliberately keep a few... If the vendors didn't change their plans, then the individuals informed of our orders must be innocent. After several rounds of testing and investigative tracing, the first is Florent, Spina de Rosula's senior advisor.
Huh?
Yes, surprising, isn't it? He was one of the people Boss, thanks to his position within Boss's innermost circle, he always knew someone else like him too. Marcel, the head of Confrérie of Cabrières.
Uncle Marcel.
It's a guild in Poisson. The Boss helped it to grow to its cup. In the beginning, they were only reselling some daily goods, but now they're...
So, they're like a sister organization of...
Yes, you can say that. When we were fighting against the... It's a bit difficult to imagine someone using their...
The final suspect is Thierry, the man responsible for coordinating information between Spina de Rosula and the guards. Although the guards mostly leave us to our own devices, there are still many activities we have to... Since Thierry is always in the know about our current activities, he could theoretically always plan one step...
I see. To think that the enemy we've been fighting...
If you want to investigate them, please take every precaution to not alert the quarry.
Of course.
You're too kind, my lady. And before I forget, proving bosses after that incident, if it might help, you could also pay them a visit.
Aw, thank you so much, Malus.
A new case awaits, my dear partner. I hope we can work...
It is settled, then. Please excuse me.
Thank you for arranging everything.
Excuse me, miss.
Hey, Navia's all quiet. This isn't like her at all.
I'm sorry that I only came to visit after all this time.
If it's about that, there's no need to apologize. After my husband died, Spina di Rosula sent us a lot of mura and support.
But aren't all of those things nothing compared to the loss of Jacques? I can understand the kind of pain.
You don't understand.
I didn't know how to face you. Because I didn't know what I could possibly bring as a consolation. I know only the full truth could bring closure to you.
I'm sorry. I appreciate the sentiment. On the matter regarding my husband, my daughter...
Would you mind sharing it with me?
I always knew that my husband's money was earned through others' suffering. He told me countless times that if he could turn back the clock, he would never go into the synth business again. He had many regrets, and felt that he took the idea of providing for his family too literally. For the longest time, he thought Mora was everything. So when Mr. Callis came to him with a proposal, he accepted. He tried to be as careful as he could, but even so...
They found out about his...
Papa didn't say that exactly, but Papa did tell me that I should never be...
Before he left that day, he told me that he had no choice. It was only later that I realized... I don't know that for sure, but... Which is why I'm the one who should feel guilty. Callis, even if he fired the shot that killed my husband, it was like...
But Mama, why is Papa still the bad? Papa always wanted to be a good man.
Well, things aren't always as they seem.
Yeah, Papa...
Then you should hold on to that. If a good man had to do a bad thing, regardless of whether he left you a parasol or a sword.
Oh.
Thank you for everything you've told me. I will definitely
thank you. Even though your personality is quite different from your father's, your determination when you speak is...
You really think so? That's the first...
Are you okay, Navia?
I'm fine. Don't worry. Let's investigate the 3 suspects next. Florent should be nearby.
Greetings, boss. How may I be of assistance?
I'm sure you've heard about what happened at the Opera House. Someone got...
Yeah, I've heard. With something that dramatic, I'm sure journalists will milk it for all it's worth. And it'll be all the talk for the next several weeks.
It also reminded me, on the day that the incident happened with after my partner here put the dots together for me, can you do me a favor and try to recall what happened?
Let me think. Mr. Callis was after that. He told us that he wanted to go get some fresh air. So we let him go without thinking much of it. Who knew that we would hear 2 guns? My first reaction was that Mr. Callis's life was in danger. So I grabbed my holster and made a mad dash toward the... But when I got there, it was already too late. Mr. Callis was standing over a dead...
So you also remember 2 gunshots?
Indeed. The guard said that the first shot didn't hit anyone, while the second killed Jacques. But I've never really bought that explanation. Reason being, Mr. Callis had left his gun on the table. I even made sure to confirm that before running to the scene. But according to the guards, that doesn't mean he couldn't have had other guns on his person. About the clothes left at the scene that you mentioned, do you think there was...
At least from our perspective, my father had no reason to kill. So the gun he was holding probably belonged to Jacques.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying Mr. Callis ended up with the gun because he seized it from... But hold on. If that's what had happened, he didn't even want to face the Oratrice machine, and chose instead to prove his honor. Did he lose all faith in the courts after seeing someone dissolve?
About that, Malouse told me a thing or 2. So I'll tell you everything.
I understand. And if I may just say one more thing. The whole Callis, many people have laughed at me for still calling him Mr. Callis. even after. But it was Mr. Callus's trust that allowed me to rise through the ranks of Spina di Rosula, no matter what others might say.
Don't worry. You and all our other comrades at this